The Whitney Road Complete Street project extends from US 19 to Ballester Road. The intent of the project is to prepare a concept plan that identifies roadway, infrastructure, and safety improvements such as crosswalks, sidewalks, and bicycle improvements that will better support the needs of all users. This presentation provides an overview of the context and the conditions along Whitney Road. First, we'll look at who lives or works in the Whitney Road study corridor. Understanding this helps to identify how and when people are most likely to travel in the study area. Residents living near the Whitney Road focus area are predominantly white. Spatially, the areas south of Whitney Road are more diverse. Compared to Pinellas County, the Whitney Road corridor is slightly more diverse in terms of race and ethnicity. The median household income in this area is $65,700, just above the Pinellas County median of $60,451 as reported in 2021. Workers in the corridor reflect similar but slightly less diverse distribution regarding race and ethnicity. The average wage in the Whitney Road focus area is $54,695, slightly below the county average of $58,447. Spatially, wages are generally mixed throughout the corridor, with the highest wages concentrated around the major employment center in the eastern portion of the focus area, where major employers include those such as Tech Data. When reviewing definitions of equity as defined by Pinellas County and Forward Pinellas, Whitney Road is not typically defined as an area with equity concerns. However, the area to the south has been identified as an area with higher than typical minority populations and minority populations with limited English-speaking households. Employment in the corridor is largely centered around two areas: the southeastern portion of the corridor and the commercial areas along US 19. The most dominant industries in this area are healthcare and social assistance, transportation and warehousing, professional, scientific, and technical services, and retail trade. Next, we'll review travel patterns. Travel patterns describe human mobility, including when, why, and how people move between different places. With a good understanding of travel patterns, we can estimate the travel demand, that is, the number of people traveling between different areas. The vehicular traffic on Whitney Road for both private automobiles and commercial trucks is low when compared to the two nearby roads of Roosevelt Boulevard and US 19. Vehicular volumes are highest west of 58th Street. Overall, the two lanes on Whitney Road accommodates the existing traffic flows. We also looked at the volume of people moving along Whitney Road by walking or biking. Walking and biking are non-motorized modes. When viewing the maps, the yellow to orange colors on the roads indicate a higher volume. Pedestrian and bicyclist volumes are higher in the western half of Whitney Road from Wolford Road to US 19. There are other notable roads that serve a north to south link to Whitney Road with high volumes of non-motorized users. These include Oak Street and Wolford Road to the north of Whitney Road and 58th Street and Whitney Drive to the south. Mapping both volumes and percent of non-motorized users reveals similar patterns to the previous maps. It highlights the importance of Whitney Road as an east-west connection, particularly west of Wolford Road, and it highlights the importance of the previously discussed notable north to south corridors, including 166th Avenue. Whitney Road volumes and modes vary throughout the day. Overall volumes peak around 7 a.m. and 3 p.m., with bicycle volumes generally following the patterns of motorized use. Walk trips, however, appear to hold strong throughout the day after peaking in the morning and begin to decline in the early evening hours. Whitney Road serves predominantly local residents. Using data from the replica travel model, which is based on typical weekday conditions in 2021, and is calibrated to cell phone data. This assessment reveals that many users live directly along the corridor, and nearly all others live within 2 miles. Also notable, many cyclists do not live directly on the corridor, but do live within 2 miles of it, indicating that Whitney Road serves as an important link for these users. Looking at where users begin and end their trips, it is possible to identify patterns in the flows of movements. Using data from Replica, again looking at a typical weekday in 2021, this map shows the desire lines for all non-motorized trips under 5 miles. It reveals a generally dispersed pattern. Largo-Datsko Park and the commercial and retail areas west of Whitney Road stand out as attractors and generators of non-motorized trips. In thinking about the potential for more non-motorized users, this perspective shows us the same concept, but for all non-commercial trips under 5 miles, which can be thought of as trips that could potentially be substituted with walking or biking. Notable patterns emerge around trips to and from Publix, destinations along Roosevelt Boulevard and Whitney Road, particularly in the eastern and central portions. This section shows a crash summary for the Whitney Road corridor. The following slides include information about the annual number of crashes by crash severity and type, the relation of crashes to intersections, and the location of crashes along the roadway. This data was collected from the Pinellas County Crash Data Management System between 2018 and 2022 and within 500 feet of Whitney Road. Here's a map that shows crashes by collision type in the Whitney Road corridor. Overall, Whitney Road has lower safety concerns compared to other areas in Pinellas County. However, with 144 total crashes between 2018 and 22, measures to improve safety for motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists are needed. Here's a chart showing the annual number of crashes by crash severity. From 2018 through 2022, there were 87 property damage only crashes, 56 injury crashes, including 4 that resulted in severe injuries, and 1 fatal crash. The average annual number of crashes is approximately 29 crashes per year. Including crashes on Whitney Road only, there were 48 total crashes, 0 fatal crashes, and 1 severe injury crash, resulting in an overall crash rate of 18 crashes per 100 million vehicle miles traveled and a severe injury crash rate of less than 1. The most prevalent crash type during the analysis period was rear-end crashes with 65 crashes, which is 45% of all crashes. The next most common crash types are hitting fixed objects followed by side swipes, representing 17% and 12.5% of total crashes respectively. During the analysis period, there were 3 crashes involving bicycles and there were no pedestrian crashes. However, there was 1 pedestrian crash in 2016 and 2 in 2017. Countermeasures that may help reduce pedestrian and bicyclist-involved crashes include leading pedestrian intervals, pedestrian refuge islands, pedestrian hybrid beacons, and sidewalks. In addition to crash type, the crash location in relation to the intersection also helps to identify the appropriate safety countermeasure. Intersections, which are defined as locations where motorists and other road users cross paths, are often the most dangerous part of the roadway in terms of severity, because they are where the greatest potential for conflict exists on the transportation system. Proven countermeasures that may reduce intersection crashes involve appropriate access management, signage, traffic control devices, roadway design, and lighting. The crash summary shows that most crashes happened between intersections at non-junction locations. During the analysis period, 113 crashes occurred at non-junction locations, which represents 78% of total crashes. Crashes at intersections or within the influence area of an intersection represented 14% of total crashes. This section of the presentation focuses on how the Whitney Road area is anticipated to grow based on the adopted regional travel demand model. To understand how the area is expected to evolve over time, here we show population density change at a regional perspective. It reveals that little to no change in population is expected within the Whitney Road focus area. Now, looking at employment density change in the adopted model, this map reveals moderate employment growth anticipated in the eastern portion of Whitney Road. Looking at change in terms of percent, population and employment are both expected to grow about 10% by 2045, a rate that roughly mirrors Pinellas County. In terms of absolute change, this results in approximately 250 new people and 500 new jobs in the general study area. Examples of growth in the corridor include the Whitney Place apartments that are under construction at the eastern project limits and the proposed multifamily development near US 19. These two maps compare current and estimated future traffic volumes on Whitney Road and surrounding streets. As congestion levels increase on the surrounding network, some traffic may shift to Whitney Road. It is estimated that traffic volumes could reach about 10,000 vehicles per day by 2045, which are within acceptable traffic conditions for a two-lane roadway. In summary, the Whitney Road study area is home to a diverse population whose average income is lower than the county average. In addition, Whitney Road serves as an employment hub to a mix of diverse industries. When looking at how people move and travel along Whitney Road, the data suggests that Whitney Road largely serves its nearby residents, particularly those within 2 miles of it. Many short trips in the area involve the public supermarket and the residential areas along Roosevelt Boulevard. The potential exists for some of these trips to be substituted with non-motorized trips. While little to no change in population is expected within the Whitney Road focus area, some employment growth is anticipated in the eastern portion. Thus, the current roadway configuration is sufficient to meet today and future conditions. However, Whitney Road could benefit from safety improvements to minimize crashes and injuries. The findings from the existing travel conditions and safety analysis, as well as the issues and opportunities expressed by the public and project stakeholders, will inform the overall design of this Whitney Road Complete Street project. Thank you for reviewing the Whitney Road Complete Streets Project Existing Conditions presentation. For more information on this project, please visit the following link to the Pinellas County website or scan the QR code on the screen with your cell phone camera.